Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning everyone, welcome to our video. We are from Group 3
And we would like to present about course planning and syllabus design.
Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Shifa Nadira and my student ID number is 091.
My name is Nanita Rizkia Abadi and my student ID number is 093.
My name is Zara Kamila Ramadhani and my student ID number is 092.
Please enjoy the video.
When planning a course, the first thing to think about is the course rationale, which is basically the reason why the course exists. It is like the introduction or the foundation of the course. The rationale answers three important questions. Who is the course for? What is the course about? And what kind of teaching and learning will happen during the course? In other words, it explains why the course is needed, what it hopes to achieve, and how it will work. For example, if a course is created for adults who want to improve their English for work, the rationale might explain that the course will focus on communication skills needed in the workplace, such as speaking in meetings, making phone calls, and writing short messages. This is important because it gives teachers and students a clear sense of purpose. It also makes sure that everyone understands what the course is trying to do and keeps the planning focused. Without a clear rationale, the course may become unclear or unfocused, and the teaching activities may not match the goals. Once the purpose of the course is clear, the next step is to describe the entry level and the exit level. The entry level is the ability students already have when they join the course. The exit level is the ability they should reach by the end of the course. These 2 points form the starting line and the finishing line of the course. For example, if students start at a very basic level where they can only use short sentences, then the exit level might be for them to hold simple conversations and write short paragraphs. If the students begin at an intermediate level, the exit level might be writing essays or giving presentations. Entry and exit levels can be described in different ways. International tests like IELTS or TOEFL are often used to show where students start and what level they should reach by the end. In some cases, teachers may also create specially designed tests to measure students' language skills more directly. Some countries even have their own rating systems that describe progress in smaller steps. For example, in Australia, the Australian Second Language Proficiency Ratings ASLPR shows levels from zero ability up to native live fluency. In the United States, the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages ACTFL guidelines describe different stages of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. These rating systems help teachers see progress more clearly and design a course that moves students step by step from the starting point toward the goal. Once the entry and exit levels are clear, the next big decision is about course content, which means deciding what will actually be taught in the course. The content can be thought of as the ingredients of the course. The choice of content depends on many factors: the goals of the course, the needs of the learners, the beliefs of the teachers, and even practical issues like the time available or the type of exam the students will take. For example, in a writing course, teachers might focus on grammar, like tenses or sentence structure. They could also focus on functions, such as describing likes and dislikes, or on skills, like writing topic sentences, or on processes such as brainstorming, drafting, and editing. And of course, teachers may also focus on text types, for example, business letters or essays. In the same way, a listening and speaking course could include everyday conversations, expressing opinions, or role plays of real situations, like going to the bank or ordering food in a restaurant. Teachers usually begin this stage by brainstorming possible ideas, making a long list of topics, skills, or tasks that could be included. Then, they carefully review the list to decide which topics are most important, which ones might be left out, and how much time should be given to each. This process of choosing content is strongly connected to the goals of the course. When planning a course, teachers also need to think about the scope and sequence. Scope means how much content will be covered and how deeply each topic will be studied. For example, if the topic is describing experiences, Teachers have to decide whether to spend 2, 4, or maybe 6 lessons on it. Sequence means the order in which topics are taught. Some things need to come earlier, while others can be left for later. There are several ways to arrange the order. One way is to move from simple to complex, starting with easier topics before going on to harder ones. Another way is through chronology, which means following the natural order of events. For example, in writing, students might first learn brainstorming, then drafting, then revising, and finally editing. Teachers can also arrange topics based on need, by teaching what students will use most in daily life first, like money, shopping, health, or transportation. Another option is prerequisite learning, which means teaching the basics first so students are ready for more advanced tasks later. For example, grammar before essay writing. Sometimes the order can go from whole to part, or from part to whole. That means students might start by reading full stories before analyzing their smaller parts, or they might practice small parts like writing paragraphs before combining them into full essays. Lastly, teachers can use spiral sequencing, where topics are repeated later in the course so students can practice again and remember better.
When designing a course, we cannot just put together a random lesson. We need a structure that makes sense for students. That's the role of the syllabus. A syllabus is like the roadmap of a course. When designing a language course, the syllabus framework can be used, depending on the goals, student needs, and teaching contexts. Over the years, teachers have developed several types of syllabuses. Let's look at them one by one. The first type is grammatical syllabus. So grammatical syllabus is the most traditional type. Lessons are organized around grammar rules such as the present tense, past tense, or passive voice. It's very structured and familiar, so many teachers and students expect it. But the weakness is that it focuses too much on form instead of meaning, so learners may know the rules but cannot always communicate fluently. For example, one lesson might teach about the present simple tense. I eat breakfast every day, or she goes to the school at 7. The focus is on accuracy and structure. The benefit is that it's systematic, but learners may not always know how to use this form in a real conversation. Next, the second type is lexical syllabus. A lexical syllabus is a type of course design that organizes learning around vocabulary or lexis. The weakness is that it must be integrated with speaking, listening, and grammar practice. Because language is more than just words, lexical syllabuses are usually combined with grammar or functional practice. For example, beginners might first learn the most frequent 1,000 words in English, such as go, make, time, people, good, or work. These words appear in almost every conversation. This gives learners a strong base, but they still need grammar and functions to put the words together in communication. The third type is functional syllabus. A functional syllabus is the way of planning a language course where the main organizing principle is communicative functions, the things people use language to do in everyday life. Instead of starting with grammar rules like present tense or past tense, or word lists like food vocabulary, the syllabus starts with purposes of communication, such as greeting someone, introducing yourself, asking for directions, apologizing, making a request, and expressing agreement or disagreement. So the goal is to help learners use the language for communication right way, focusing on meaning and use rather than only on form. For example, a grammar syllabus might teach can under modal verbs. A functional syllabus would teach can in the function of making requests. For example, can you help me please? Or can I borrow your pen? So grammar and vocabulary are included, but they are selected and presented only when needed to carry out a specific communicative function. The fourth type is situational syllabus. Situational syllabuses are organized around common situations like at the airport, in a hotel, or in a restaurant. This is very practical because learners can immediately use what they study in real life. But the problem is that language learned in one situation may not transfer to other contexts. Sometimes it can feel like memorizing a phrase book. For example, in a unit about the airport, students learn phrases like "Where is the check-in counter?" or "What time does the flight leave?" This is very practical, especially for travelers. But the problem is that language learned at the airport may not help much in other settings, like in a job interview. The fifth type is topical syllabus. A topical syllabus, also called a content-based syllabus, is a way of organizing a language course around themes, topics, or subject areas rather than grammar, vocabulary, or function. In this approach, content is the starting point. The teacher first chooses interesting or useful topics, such as technology, environment, travel, health, food, sport, and so on, and then uses these topics as the basis for teaching the language. Instead of asking which grammar point should I teach next, the planner asks which topic is meaningful and relevant to my student, or what language like vocabulary, grammar, expression will naturally appear when we talk about these topics. For example, the topics is about food and restaurant. So the vocabulary is about menu, weather, bill, delicious, order, and spicy. And the grammar is can I have or I'd like to. And the skills is role play ordering food in a restaurant. Here the topic drives the lesson, and grammar or functions are introduced only as a part of working with that topic.
Alright, the next is competency-based syllabus. So this syllabus is all about what students can actually do, not just what they know in theory. The focus is on real abilities. For example, if the topic is telephoning, then the goal is not just knowing telephone words, but actually being able to first is read and dial a phone number, and second is introduce yourself politely on the phone, and the third is ask to talk with someone, and the fourth is respond when you're told to wait, and the last is leave a message when someone is not available. And the next is skills-based syllabus.
Now this one is focused
On the four main language skills, they are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Each of those big skills is broken down into smaller parts called
micro skills.
There are also extra study skills like skimming, scanning, note-taking, or even making diagrams. The good side is students really practice performance, like how they actually use the language. The downside is sometimes it feels a bit too separate, like you're practicing skills in boxes instead of seeing how they connect in real life. The next is task-based syllabus. This one is super hands-on because it's all about learning through tasks that use the target language in real ways, like learning by doing. For example, reading a map to give directions, and then following instructions to build something, and then discussing together to solve a problem. And then there are also different task types like jigsaw tasks. So everyone has a piece of info and you have to put it all together into one complete picture. And the second is information gap test. It means you have some info, your partner has also other info, and you exchange to complete the puzzle. And the next is problem solving test. It's about working out solutions to challenges. And then decision making test is about choosing the best option from several. And then the last is opinion exchange test. It's about sharing and comparing ideas. And then the next is text-based syllabus. This one is different because it uses real text as the main focus of learning. A text here does not only mean a written paragraph, but it can be a conversations, forms, reports, stories, or even instructions. The process usually goes like this. First is build the context or understanding the situation of the text, and the second is analyze and model the text. It's about see how it is structured, and the third is create a text together as a class. The fourth is create a text individually. And the last is connect with other text or compare, expand, or link to other genres. The syllabus is great because students learn grammar and vocabulary naturally inside real communication. And the last is integrated syllabus. Integrated means mixed or combined. In reality, teachers do not usually stick to just one syllabus type, but they combine several approaches. For example, in a reading course, the teacher might focus on reading skills, but also throw in some grammar points, new vocabulary, or group discussions about the text. And it lets teachers choose whatever works best for their students. Alright, now we will talk about developing instructional blocks. So, an instructional block is a set of lessons that can stand alone, has a clear purpose, but still supports the overall goal of the course. This block can be just one lesson or bigger, like a unit that has several lessons. The goal is to make the course more structured, easier to follow, and the students' progress more clear. So, there are two common types of instructional blocks. The first one is modules. A module is a set of lessons that can stand alone and has its own purpose. For example, a 120-hour course can be divided into 4 modules, each with 30 hours, such as Module 1 is speaking for daily life, and Module 2 is about grammar and basics. And then the second is units. A unit is smaller than a module, but bigger than one lesson. The function of a unit is to provide a structured sequence of activities until one learning goal is reached. For example, in Module 1, Speaking for Daily Life has some units, like Unit 1 is about greetings and introductions, Unit 2 is about asking for direction, and Unit 3 is about shopping conversation. Alright, features of a good unit for a unit to be successful has some points that are important. The first one is length, that is about the material should be enough, not too little and not too much. And the second is development. The activities should connect to each other and not random. And the third is coherence. The units should have a clear focus or red thread. And then pacing. The speed of activities should be balanced, not too slow or too fast. And the last is outcome. At the end of the unit, students should be able to do or know something new. If these conditions are not met, then students may feel confused because the course looks jumpy and unorganized. So, example of a unit structure. Let's say we have the theme creativity, and it has 2 lessons. Lesson A is about creativity and jobs, like in page 1 is listening and speaking, page 2 is grammar practice, page 3 is listening and speaking again, and page 4 is writing exercise. Meanwhile, lesson B, it's about creative products. Page 1 is listening and speaking, page 2 is grammar practice, page 3 listening and speaking, and page 4 is reading and discussions. So as we can see, lesson B also has 4 parts, but the last focus is different. Instead of writing, it ends with reading and discussions to practice reading and sharing ideas. Here we can see that each page has a different focus, but they all support the goal of the unit. With this unit structure, 2 types of coherence are provided. The first one is horizontal coherence. This makes sure that all the activities in one unit are connected and follow a clear sequence, while vertical coherence makes sure that every page has a clear order from top to bottom. And at the end, there is a closure, activities that makes the page feel complete. And the scope and sequence plan. After the modules and units are designed, teachers usually put them into a scope and sequence plan. This plan shows the list of modules or units, the themes, topics, the number of study hours, the order, and the learning outcomes that are targeted. In short, course planning and syllabus design give a clear plan for teachers and also students.
They help us know why the course is made, what to teach, and how to teach it step by step, so students can learn better and reach their goals.
With a good plan, learning becomes easier, more organized, and more effective. Alright everyone, that's all from our group. Thank you for your attention.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.